So today we are having a expert member, Dr. S. Arunachalam, lecturer in land surveying, civil and architectural section, the University College of Technology and Applied Science, Muscat, Oman. So he is having expertise in the area of remote sensing and GIS. He is undergoing a lot of government-related projects in and around Muscat. So now I request our Dr. S.S.G. Prasad sir to give you a brief introduction about our guest.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, all of you. Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear, sir.
Thanks. So, good evening. Today's speaker, Dr. S. Arunachalam, and all the attendees. So, it is a great pleasure. So, for me to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. S. Arunachalam. So, who is currently working as the lecturer in land surveying, University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Muscat. So, since 2015. So, he has a total experience of over 13 years of teaching experience. So his area of specialization is remote sensing and geographical information systems. So engineering, surveying, GPS, so groundwater resources management and using remote sensing and GIS. So watershed management, so mapping of land use and land cover dynamics. So ArcGIS package, so Leica photogrammetry suite and ENVI. So he has obtained his PhD degree in remote sensing in 2017. So from Center for Remote Sensing, so Tiruchirappalli, so Bharat Darshan University. So titled Groundwater Resource Management in the Hard Rock Terrain of Upper Ponayar, so watershed using remote sensing and GIS. So has guided more than 6 MTech projects. So has published around 7 papers in reputed journals and presented 2 papers in the conferences, and has delivered about 4 guest lectures also. And he is also a reviewer for the journal Indian Journal of Geomarine Sciences. So he has done consultancy work of more than 15 lakhs, and he has received a role model employee award so for the academic year 2017-18, so from the college of from the college deanship, so Higher College of Technology, Muscat. So with this brief introduction, I would like to invite our today's speaker, Dr. S. Arunachalam. So thank you, and so over to you, sir.
Sir, you can talk share screen, sir. You can share your screen. Arunachalam, sir.
Dr. Gogulan, can you hear
yes, sir.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Can you able to see this PowerPoint?
No, sir. Actually, we cannot see.
No, sir. No, sir.
Sir, share it again, sir. We cannot able to see that, sir.
Just you check now.
Not visible, sir.
Not visible, sir.
Just you check now, Gogulan.
No, sir. We cannot see actually. It is not sharing actually.
Just you make me as a presenter.
Yeah, you are in presenter only, sir. Actually, we already given permission for you.
Just you check now.
Not visible, sir.
Not visible, sir. Instead of sharing screen, also you can share that particular PowerPoint also, sir. You can try that also.
Golan, please check now.
No, sir, it is not coming. We cannot see your screen. Sir, always you can send that presentation to my mail, sir. From here I can share, sir. So I will operate that if possible.
Golan, check now.
No, sir. No, we cannot see, sir. Sir, please you send to my mail, sir. Is it possible? I will share
Sure.
from here. You can go. So it is not shared, right? I think now it's sharing black screen. Right? Sir, you can give Control Shift E. Arunachalam, sir, is it voice is
Control
audible?
Shift
E.
E. Am I right? Yeah, give on.
Okay. Sir, just to forward that presentation to my mail, sir. I will open here.
Golan, can you check now?
Sir, we cannot see, sir. Actually, we cannot see. It is not yet shared. Yeah, we can see, sir. We can see.
Yeah.
It is shared. Okay.
So my apologies to everyone.
No issues, sir. No issues. Thanks.
So good evening to all. So directly I will come to the content. So dear professors, so when I select the content for this presentation, I'm very much particular. Because already you all are trainers in various institutions, engineering institutions. So I don't want to go for anything already which is existing in the textbook. So when I prepared content for this presentation, so I brought something, I mean, already completed consultancy work and students project and sponsored research work. Some of the thing I have incorporated in that presentation, so that you can get very clear idea of this technology, where we can use this technique. That idea you can get very clearly. So as per outline of my presentation, just I will give you the idea what is remote sensing or what is GIS, then directly I will enter into the applications. So listen everyone, if you take remote sensing, that remote sensing is a parent department. We are getting only data from this remote sensing department. It's like a data producing department. And that data, remote sensing data, I mean satellite images, that remote sensing data, that is used in the different platforms. One is image processing, photogrammetry, and GIS. So these all are the different platform we are using this remote sensing data. So in that image processing and photogrammetry, we can use only remote sensing data. We cannot use other data set. Only remote sensing data we can handle by using image processing and photogrammetry. But if you come to GIS, it is very famous in many fields. It is used by agriculturalist, geologist, geography, civil engineering. It's entered into every field, GIS. You know why? Because if you take that GIS, Geographical Information System, here we can use satellite images, aerial photographs, all primary data set, as well as we can use field data. For example, you all are maximum background with civil engineering. So you have soil property value, water chemical property value. In surveying laboratory, you are using dumpy level theodolite, I mean, for measuring the height of land. So all these information, field data also, we can use it in the GIS. Primary sources, as well as field data. Even if you have secondary data like population data, that is also you can use it in the GIS. Not like other two platforms, image processing and photogrammetry. Are you getting my point? So this GIS, we are using primary data, field data, as well as in the secondary data, all we can use. So if you come to remote sensing, so this remote sensing is the field of collection of data. It's a field of collection of data without any physical contact with the object. For example, we are collecting the data about Earth's surface, but without any physical contact with the object. Still, I can make you simple. It's act like a TV remote. It's act like a TV remote. You know that. What is the use of TV remote? So by using TV remote, we are changing the channels. By sitting luxuriously, we are sitting in the sofa and we are changing channels. Be clear. We don't have any physical interaction with the TV button. We don't have any physical contact with the TV button, but we are changing the channels. So it means that there is a source between TV and the remote. Something it's going and coming back, am I right? Between TV and the remote. It's nothing but light rays. We are using light rays. So we have one battery in the TV remote. It generates light rays. That light rays used for changing the channels. This is what we are doing. But we don't have any physical contact with the TV button. Getting my point? So same thing. If you take remote sensing, here we are using electromagnetic radiation as a source. Electromagnetic radiation as a source. So you know that sun is the prime source of energy. Sun is the prime source of energy. It generates the electromagnetic radiation, and that electromagnetic radiation, it is propagated through the atmosphere. It's traveling in the atmosphere, and when it reaches the Earth's surface, When it reaches the Earth surface, here different actions takes place. Like when it touches the object, some object it will reflect the radiation. Some object it scatter the radiation. Some object like water body, it transmit the radiation. Like different actions it takes place in the Earth surface. When it reaches to the Earth surface, I mean that electromagnetic radiation. So listen carefully. So what are the energy? It's reflected or scattered by the object. So for example, when that electromagnetic radiation, it touches this building, concrete building, it's become like a mirror like reflection. Full energy it will be reflected to the atmosphere. When it is interact with the vegetation, partially it is absorbed because there is a water content in the vegetation, and some percentage it become reflected. So this scattered and reflected energy is received by the satellite camera. Technically we can say satellite sensors. So sun to the Earth surface, then from Earth surface that reflected and scattered energy, that is again back to the atmosphere, that reflected and scattered energy that is received by the satellite sensors. Simply we can say cameras. Satellite sensors. So it receives that electromagnetic radiation, that satellite sensors. Later, these signals, electromagnetic radiation signals, by using analog to digital conversion, they are making satellite images. It receives in the form of electromagnetic radiation. In the ground, they are converting that radiation into by using analog to digital conversion, they are producing satellite images. If you ask me how they are producing satellite images, so each object have different reflection values. For example, if you take building, full reflection, so value 255. Vegetation like 75, water body 0. Like they are giving digital numbers according to the reflection, then they are making satellite images. So that satellite images, it's comprised with the digital numbers. So as I explained to you, just you see this, sun is the prime source of energy. So when it reaches the Earth, it's interacting with the all object, that reflected and scattered energy that will be received by the satellite sensor for producing satellite images. So be clear, if you take electromagnetic radiation, it is not only, we can divide that electromagnetic radiation according to the wavelength. It's not only one form, it is different form according to the wavelength. So that gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet rays, just you leave it. These all are eliminated by the atmosphere. That visible light, blue, green, red, infrared, these all are entering into the Earth surface. So for data collection, for capturing images, we are using this visible light, infrared light, and microwave light. So according to this spectrum, we can say, if we are using this visible and infrared, it is called visible and infrared remote sensing. We are using this particular wavelength for collecting data. For collecting satellite data. So if you take satellite, there are different camera. One camera for blue, another camera for red and green and infrared. Like there are different camera. So whatever reflected or scattered, that will be captured by the satellite camera. Then later that will be processed for making satellite images. So like that, we are using microwaves for producing data, that is called microwave remote sensing. In case if we use microwave for data collection. So this remote sensing data, as I told you, we are using that satellite as a platform. So in that satellite, we have sensor. By using that sensor, we are capturing images. So once if it is launched, this satellites, Depends on the satellite. Some satellite it takes 18 days for one orbit. It takes 18 days to cover all the places in the Earth. For example, now you are in your home, possibly you are in your home. In that particular place, if satellite takes photograph today, then it will be back after 18 days. It depends on the satellite. Some satellite, it takes 24 days, 26 days. So it's like 18 days once we have coverage. And this altitude that is fixed nearly 830 to 850 kilometer. So another platform is aircraft. It is called aerial remote sensing, because here that altitude, resolutions, everything fixed once it is launched. But if you come to aerial remote sensing, here we are using aircraft for collecting data, images. The camera is fitted in the aircraft, then we are taking photograph, that photograph used for various application. So here main advantage is based on the application, we can select the camera resolution and height, scale, everything we can decide. But here we cannot decide anything. If that camera resolution 20 meter or 10 meter, that cannot be changed. But here, based on the height of that aircraft, altitude of aircraft, we can decide the scale. If for example, it flies like say 100-meter distance or 200-meter distance, there will be we can get one scale like 1:100 or 1:200. If flying height is more, then scale it become changed 1:1000 or 1:2000. So that scale, photograph scale, we can decide when we are in the aerial remote sensing. So we have two group of satellites. This is you have to understand, because all satellites will not produce image. So if you take one group of satellite, it is called geostationary satellite. It's moving east to west. It's moving along with the Earth. And these satellites, distance from the Earth, nearly 36,000 kilometer. Nearly 36,000 kilometer. These satellites will not produce any image, will not produce any photograph. These satellites used for only communication purpose. For example, today we are using internet, and in mobile we are using 2G data, 3G, 4G, internet data. All signals, it comes from this group of satellites. And we are watching Dish TV. That Dish TV signal also it comes from this geostationary satellite. These satellites will not produce any image. So another group of satellite, it is called sun synchronized satellites. It's moving north to south. It's called polar orbit, north to south. So altitude of these satellites 860 kilometers from the Earth. These satellites are capable to produce the satellite images. And these images are used in the image processing, photogrammetry, and GIS. So till now, be clear, that is the remote sensing. We are using electromagnetic radiation for data collection. For that, we have number of sun synchronized satellites. That sun synchronized satellites can able to produce the image by using reflected and scattered electromagnetic radiation. So I will show you some of the satellite data set, so you can understand what is image, how it is used. So this is TIRAS image. It is called TIRAS image, television infrared observation satellite. Television infrared observational satellite. So this TIRAS image, this is especially used for weather forecasting. It consists of one high resolution radiometer. By using this TIRAS image, we can go for even cloud mapping. What type of cloud that is present in the atmosphere, even that can be mapped by using this TIRAS image only for weather forecasting. And the next one is Landsat image. This is the first scientific satellite launched by US in the year 1972. Resolution is 80 meter, 80 meter, very poor resolution, very poor resolution. But you think about 1972. So during that time, this is the first scientific satellite, even though it is 80 meter resolution, it is, I mean, it's with color photograph. So we can identify the type of vegetation and build up area, like general classification we can do by using this Landsat image. So next one is Cartosat image. This is Indian satellite, Cartosat. It's taken from the Indian satellite with the resolution of 2.5 meter, very good resolution. That is 80. So this is 2.5 meter resolution, very good resolution. We can see all the object very closely, but it is black and white, not color, black and white, 2.5 meter resolution. So now this is the image used for many applications, surveying application, cadastral mapping. We can go for Cartosat image. So next one is a spot image. It is a combination of Belgium and Sweden. This satellite launched by Belgium and Sweden. We have there are 5 series: spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So some 1, 2, it's like a 20 meter resolution. 3, 4, 5, 10 meter resolution. We can get a 2 category of data set. This is used for all land use, land cover mapping, mapping of agricultural land use. All we can, urban planning, all we can use this spot image. And IGNOS, it's a US data product. I mean, from US satellite, 1 meter resolution, very closest from the satellite. That lens resolving power is 1 meter, very high resolution satellite image. Even by using this, we can go for property tax mapping, very accurate one. So still next dimension, next phase, or we can say next paradigm shift, QuickBird image, 60 centimeter, I mean 0.6 meter, QuickBird image, very closest view we can get from this QuickBird image. So GeoEye image, this is 40 centimeter, 0.4 meter. Even we can get a street view by using this GeoEye image. For example, in Google Earth, there is option street view. Only we can get it for European countries. So while you are focusing that European countries, in bottom of Google Earth, you can see GeoEye. It means it is updated from this GeoEye, I mean satellite. It's updated from this satellite product. So next one, JERS image, I mean Japanese Earth Resource Satellite. Japanese Earth Resource Satellite. So listen, if you take US satellite, Indian satellite, still we are working with some number of camera sensor, like say 7 to 8, that's it. But if you come to Japanese Earth Resource Satellite, one satellite, they have nearly more than 300 cameras. I mean 300 sensor. We are working with micrometer, but they are working with nanometer. Each sensor sensitive with nanometer. Are you getting my point? It's this type of remote sensing. It is called hyperspectral remote sensing. It's called hyperspectral remote sensing. If today, if you take remote sensing, today updates in the remote sensing, when I try for postdoctoral fellowship, so many of the universities, they want knowledge of hyperspectral remote sensing, because working with this hyperspectral remote sensing somewhat difficult, but we can go for in detail application, in detail identification, all mineral deposit, everything we can identify by using this hyperspectral remote sensing data. So these Japanese, they are the toppest workers now in hyperspectral remote sensing. So as I told you, that remote sensing data that is used in the different platform like geographical information system, image processing, and photogrammetry. In that, if you take geographical information system, if you ask me what is geographical information system, as per my experience, GIS is a tool for making maps and taking decision. It is a tool for making maps and taking decisions. So if you refer any textbook, they given something. It's a collection of data and we are storing data. We are analyzing data. This is what they given. But as per practically, it is a tool for making maps and taking decision. So in that platform, GIS platform, input is data and output is information. Input is data and output is information. For example, if you have, rainfall data, if you have rainfall data, just you feed that number, rainfall data value into GIS, and it gives you user-friendly map. From the map, you can identify which is the highest rainfall zone, which is moderate rainfall zone, which is lowest rainfall zone. All you can get the details from that map, information from the map. That's what it is called, geographical information system. Input is data, output is information. We can get detailed information. So just you see this. This is what we are doing in GIS. For example, when we have aerial photograph, we can feed this aerial photograph in the GIS. If we digitize this photograph, automatically we can get a distance, area, perimeter. If you digitize the road, we can get the distance. If you digitize the building, we can get the area. So here, main advantage of this GIS, after digitization, whatever the information related to this area, that is, you can update in the database. So because this GIS, it supports for strong database management. For example, you are the owner of this building. You can digitize that building. Then in the database, that area, perimeter, that is default. After that, you can create the columns and you can enter who is the owner of this building. Who is owner of the building? For example, some Raju, whatever. And what is his address? What is his mobile number? What is his PAN number? What is the date he has to pay property tax? And what is the next due date? Everything you can store it in the attribute table in the GIS. So like this, if you store all the information for your area, for Rajam district, for example, Rajam district, you are making for total Rajam district, then that taxpayers, property taxpayers, all information will be in this database. Easily you can sort out who all are paid for this year, who all are not paid for this area, everything it will come. How much they have to pay as per building area, everything you can monitor by using GIS. So as I told you, this GIS, it supports for different analysis. It is very important in GIS, data analysis. It supports for spatial analysis, network, 3D analysis, statistical analysis, and graphical representation. For example, when you have soil character value, soil data like nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, zinc, copper, soil value, you can go for spatial analysis. You can go for spatial analysis. When you have road data, road network, you can go for network analysis, like analyzing shortest route and all. that app, what they are using in the ambulance. When there is an accident, from the accident spot, they are identifying which is the nearest hospital. That app also, it's developed based on the network analysis that can be done in the GIS. Even that app also, it's a part of GIS, network analysis, and 3D data analysis. For example, you're in survey lab, you are using dumpy level for measuring the reduced level of various point, and you are using theodolite for identifying reduced level of various point, and you are using total station, GPS, whatever, for measuring high data. That high data you can feed into GIS, and whatever profile graph, contour, topographic mapping, everything we can do by using GIS. That is called 3D data analysis. And next one is statistical analysis and graphical representation. So when you have secondary data like population data, any other data, you can go for statistical analysis or graphical representation by making bar chart, by chart, all you can do by using. I mean, that Excel sheet will do these things, but there is a possibility in the GIS. So I have one small, case study with me. This is, you can understand. So just you see this. There is a district in Tamil Nadu. It is called Dindigul. This Dindigul town, it is famous for tannery industries. You know that what is tannery industries? That the tannery industries, they are manufacturing chappal, belt, and ladies bag. All they are manufacturing by using buffalo raw skin. For processing buffalo raw skin, they are using huge amount of chromium, toxic chemical, chromium. They are processing that buffalo raw skin with that chromium. You know, this is the place where we have more number of villages. More number of villages. That villages are once upon a time, they are the topest agricultural product producers, paddy, coconut, and all. But now, if you have visit there, now there is no even single percentage of agricultural production, because total area, that soil is highly polluted because of mixing of toxic chemicals with the soil. Total soil nutrients, that is degraded. So here we made one small research work by collecting the soil samples, and that soil samples were properly tested in the Soil Research Center, Dindigul. And by using GIS, we analyzed what is the pollution level in that particular area. So first we collected soil samples from here. So this is the closest view. You can get very clear idea. First we collected soil samples from the study area, and we tested all soil property values. What is the level of chromium and nutrients like potassium, phosphorus, zinc, copper, magnesium, all we tested. And these are the location of tannery industries. Location of tannery industries. So all that soil pollution value and nutrients value, that was entered into the GIS. Then we produced user-friendly maps. When it is a number, you cannot predict anything. But when it became a map, now you can easily interpret it. So what are the area highly polluted? Highly polluted, moderately polluted, and low polluted area. So just you see this here number, more number of industries, but less pollution, because these all are minor industries, very, very small. But here only few industries, but major industry, very big industries. They are doing more pollution in that area. All easily you can interpret everything. When that number, it become a map. You can get very easy information. So just you see these numbers, salinity, it reaches 9, but allowed limit is only 2 decimal per meter. That is the allowed value, 2 decimals per meter. But here it reaches 9. Even coconut, that is the salt tolerant crop, even that is not suitable in that particular area now. But once upon a time, it is famous for production of coconuts. But now it's all spoiled because of that tannery belt. So just you see this distribution of pH in that particular area. So Either it goes more than neutral value 7 or less than 7. Acidic, both. We can get acidic and alkynic nature in that particular area. So all we feed it into the GIS. I told you it supports for strong analysis. So by using one overlay analysis, we merged all soil property values by using hierarchical model. Finally, we prepared that contaminated levels. So this is severely contaminated area in that place, and these all are highly polluted area. This is moderately polluted area. Then finally we made some suggestions according to the using gypsum and removing soil and placing new soil in that area. Like we made many suggestions in that area. Even we met peoples individually in that particular villages and all, we given suggestions. And might be you know that we can complete the research by 3 months or 4 months, but that development, that is, we cannot expect in the same period of time. So anyway, we finished that project, we submitted that one. So if you take next platform, it is called image processing. So it's called image processing. So image processing, it is manipulation and the interpretation of digital images with the aid of computers. So, I mean, listen to me. If you take GIS and photogrammetry, we are using satellite data. But at least some percentage of manual work will be there when we are preparing maps. But if you come to image processing, you no need to do anything. Your work is you have to feed the satellite data and you have to click the command, and that software will do every work. Are you getting my point? Just you feed the satellite data and give command. It identifies the object, where is the water body, vegetation, open land, buildings, road network, everything classified by that computer program. I mean, that software. You know that software means it is a set of computer programming. That programming will do everything. But those who have proper knowledge to give the command, they can successfully work with image processing. If we work, there may be a chance we may get some wrong interpretation from the software. So if you understand what happens behind that software, we can do well for any research work or our master project work, whatever. But when we don't know, when we are working, sometimes it leads to the error images, error maps. So next platform, photogrammetry. Listen to me, everyone. In GIS and image processing, it is a 2D. We are working with 2D, two-dimensional data. But in photogrammetry, we are working with 3-dimensional data. Same area is captured. That photograph is taken by the 2 different directions. One is aft direction and another one is forward direction. So when we are taking a photograph an area from 2 different look angle, we can get the 3D. So just you see this. This is left view. This is right view for same area, so that we can get the 3-dimensional view of that particular area. So when we have 3D, we can measure the area as well. We can measure the height or depth. That is possible in the photogrammetry. Maximum of the ground surveying equipments that was replaced because of this development of this photogrammetry technology. So just you see this. First, we have to collect the photographs, aerial photographs. Don't think that it is very simple. Listen to me. We are taking this aerial photograph from the moving window by using aircraft. So when we are taking photograph in the moving object, there will many errors will come. So by using this software, we have to remove all these errors. Then finally, we have to go for merging these photographs. After merging these photographs, When we have a 3D, we can generate height values. When we have a height values, we can prepare all topographic maps. So this is the 3D view of that particular area, and we can generate height values in that particular area. From using these height values, we can prepare contour map. Work become very simple. We can prepare very high accurate maps, contour maps and slope map. So everything we can produce by using this photogrammetry. But there is a major disadvantage of this photogrammetry. I mean, cost of photograph. It is one of the costliest technology, that photogrammetry. For example, you want to conduct one photogrammetry survey for an area, for your campus. Then you have to hire one pilot. You need aircraft. You have to pay for aircraft and camera charge. It's very costliest technology. You cannot bear that amount. Only government agencies, they can go for defense and all. They can go for that photogrammetry work. And local surveyors, they cannot go with that photogrammetry technology. It's, as I told you, very costliest. But now, even that photogrammetry technology is replaced by another new technology. It is called drone technology, using unmanned aerial vehicle. Cost effective. I mean, if you take cost, it's a low cost platform, and we can achieve very accuracy. And anytime you can take photograph by using these drones. Whether larger area or smaller area, you can cover and you can work on that. So now it is one of the new technologies started to develop in that photogrammetric platform. So recently we completed one project. It's like a topographic mapping for my campus. Really, we don't have this drone in my campus. So we approached one multinational company in Muscat. So that company, they are using drone for solid waste management. How they are using that drone technology. Here we have solid waste management site. So weekly once, they are taking photograph of that solid waste management site, and they are calculating what is the available volume of waste. For example, they are taking today, what is the volume of waste by using that drone technology, because by using that photograph, we can calculate the volume. It gives area and the depth. So we can calculate the volume. So they are checking today. And after 7 days, in that 7 days, some amount of solid waste is sent back for the recycling work and landfilling and composting work. So it will be reduced. So again, after 7 days, they are checking what is the volume of waste remaining in that site. That is, they are doing. So when we approached that company, they agreed to give that drone. I mean, they sent one technician and he helped us to take photograph of my campus. By using that photographs, we analyzed what is the topography of, I mean, we made map and we analyzed the topography of this campus. So this is the Mavic Pro drone technology. I mean, we can say it is the advanced platform in the remote sensing, low altitude platform. So that camera resolution, that is 2.8 centimeter, very excellent. That sample distance 2.8 centimeter. This is what we used for data capturing. So so when we are working with the drone photographs, we need well-established accurate latitude and longitude for some places, for georeferencing purpose, for referencing purpose. Good luck, in my campus, already we have permanent benchmark. We have permanent benchmark inside. This is established by National Survey Authority, Oman. I mean, National Survey Authority, Oman. They give one some permanent benchmark inside the campus. It's for, I mean, only for academic purpose. We are using that benchmark and we are doing surveying by using Tempe level or theodolite total station. All we are using that benchmark. So we fixed one reference around that benchmark. There are 12 benchmark inside the campus. So we fixed one reference over the benchmark, because this will be visible in the photograph. So easily we can do referencing in the software. So very luxurious. We can sit in the car, and only thing is you have to select your area. That's it. You no need to do anything. Very simple work. You have to select your area, select your campus. That's it. That drone is fitted with the GPS. It goes, it takes photographs automatically. If battery down, automatically it will back to your feet. Again, it will come to your feet. That's it. If battery down, then we have to replace the battery. Then it will go that same place that where it takes last photograph. Then it's continue from that particular place. So we took nearly 1,200 photographs in my campus. Just you see this, very accurate, very closest range of photographs. So it's like this is today technology now in remote sensing. So just you see this. So now where I am sitting now, very closest view you can see. And after that, by using software, it is called Pixel 4D. That software name called Pixel 4D. We merged all the photographs, all 1,200 photographs. We analyzed. Just you see this. After we used Pixel 4D software, we merged all the photographs. So this is the final output. So if you measure the when you zoom, you can get very clear picture. Now here the clarity is not good, but if you zoom, you can get a clear picture. So if you measure length of this building, it gives very accurate. It's matched with the record. So 106.05 meter. So like if you measure the area of this building, so it gives exact area in meter square. So 2D area, 1954.69 meter square. For cross-checking purpose, this is Wi-Fi tower. Wi-Fi tower in my campus. So we measured the length of height of Wi-Fi tower. Exactly it matches 25.98 meter. 25.98 meter. So these all are application of drone technology in the surveying. So not only that drones not only used in the surveying, as I told you, now this is used in the solid waste management and agricultural area. I mean, for agricultural development, they are using drone technology. So it's entered into many fields, that drone technology. So this is another consultancy work. Actually, we have done for Muscat electricity distribution company. Here there is a company, electricity distribution company, Muscat. Actually, they approached us. They want to make one large scale mapping, that electricity consumption details. They want to make one database. So when they approached us, I suggested to go for free data, Google Earth data. Because, if you take India, we have more number of satellites. That satellite price, it starts from 8,000, but here they don't have, own satellites. So if they purchase from other country, it is costly. So I suggested to go with Google Earth data. For accuracy purpose, I asked them to integrate Google Earth plus differential global positioning system, accurate surveying equipment, differential global positioning system. So before initiating this work, we have gone for one pilot study, one trial study for one small area. It is called Al-Quth Phase 7 in the Muscat. Then I told to them, we will go for one trial study. Then if you agree, then we will continue the further mapping. This is what I told to them. This is that area, Al-Quth area. It is from Google Earth. So if directly we are following only Google Earth, then we have to compromise the accuracy. So I don't want to compromise the accuracy. So we used Google Earth image plus, differential global positioning survey equipment. So by using this global positioning system, differential global positioning system, we collected accurate coordinate, accurate latitude, longitude, height in the field. So this error is like 1 centimeter, nearly 0 meter. Error is, it may, that I mean that error itself only 1 centimeter. If it comes, it may be 1 centimeter. So we collected some ground control points in that particular area. Then we fixed over this image so that this image will adapt with the exact coordinates. We can get exact area, distance, everything now. So this is one other way by using free data with differential global positioning system. So we conducted a survey in that area. So these all are my students. They completed their project in that study area. So thoroughly we, collected all control points by using that equipment. Finally, we produced a map for that Al Quds 7, that particular area. But really what they want is, they want that electrical consumption rate in that particular area. So just you see this, we prepared. So in GIS, we prepared this map. After that, this building, how much electrical power they are using every month. That is, we entered into the database. So just you see this, these all are buildings, these all are parcel, open land, these all are buildings. So just you see this green color, these all are residential building. So that electrical power, that consumption rate, that is very less. So it is measured in the unit of kilowatt per hour. So that in the residential building, very, very less. Next, if you take this orange color, these all are commercial building. There are tea shop, grocery shop, like these all are commercial building. So that consumption rate, that is more compared to residential area. If you take this red color plot, mosque. So these two buildings are mosque. So here mosque, all air conditioner, everything, it runs 24 hours, and there will be a beautiful garden with lightning in outside the mosque. So that consumption rate, that is more. So this is they want. So when it is a number, we cannot understand anything. Now you can see when it become a map, we can understand. So other than this, now we are going to plot all substation, transformer, and long tension cables, and high tension cables, low tension cables, all we are going to map in that particular area. So time power means we are going to extend one by one slowly for more larger area. So this is another consultancy work. It's done by the team of members. This is sponsored by Karnataka Neeravari Nigam Limited, KNNL, Karnataka Neeravari Nigam Limited. So while doing this project, I was in nearby Bangalore, Hosur, in one private engineering college. During that time, we completed this work. So exactly they want to do silt sedimentation study for that dam, Davana Belagare Dam in Karnataka. They want to analyze what is the changes in the storage volume, storage of water. So might be you know that when we are constructing dam, initially we have good volume of water. After 20-25 years, due to silt sedimentation, that volume will be changed. So they want a detailed study of that Davana Belagare Dam, DBKare pickup. So here we worked like two teams. One team, they were taking care of all sounding to measure the depth of that dam, that sounding by using echo sounder, and they made all calculation, everything. But my work is, they want some communication system, like a map. They want to prepare topographic maps around the circumstances of that dam site. And I suggested Cartosat image, because in India, we can, academic purpose, we can get it for low price. So I suggested Cartosat, and we purchased a Cartosat, and I prepared map for that Dbikare pickup. So this is that dam site, Davana Balagare Dam, that is in the Karnataka. So these all are the communication map prepared by using Cartosat, all land use, land cover around that dam site. This is that dam. This is that water set. These all are catchment area. So you can get clear idea. This is the catchment, and these all are valley where that water flows. V-shaped valley and U-shaped valley, water flows. So all 3D maps we prepared. And this is elevation model, digital elevation model for that dam site. So easily you can see this is the high elevated area in the catchment. This is water flowing through this channel. So this is what we have done for that Karnataka Neeravari Nigam Limited. This is around 13 lakh project, but not for this only this one. We made a very big study by using sounding and hiring boat, and for locating boat we used total station. It's nearly hardly we spend 4 to 5 months nearby that dam site for preparing all these works. And this is another study. This is also, it's nearby Bangalore, Hosur. There is a water set. It's called Upper Ponayar water set. If you want me to highlight about this study area, listen to me carefully. This is one of the highest rainfall zone, this Upper Ponayar water set. This Upper Ponayar, it starts from Nandidurg, Karnataka, and it flows into Tamil Nadu. I mean, Hosur, Krishnagiri, Tiruvannamalai, then it reaches to Bay of Bengal. And if you take this area, that Upper Ponayar watershed area, it is one of the highest rainfall zone in Tamil Nadu. But that government is announced as a severely drought-prone zone. Just you see the controversy. Highest rainfall zone, but government announced as a severely drought-prone zone. Then if you ask me why that highest rainfall zone, it became a drought-prone zone, if you ask me, so be clear, here there is a problem with the lithology, geology. I mean, it consists of hard rock. So when there is a hard rock area, you know that there is no infiltration, so there will be a less groundwater. And if you take slope, there only runoff. If you take slope condition in that Upper Ponayar water set, it's only runoff. So this is the reason there is a strong, water scarcity in that particular area, in that area. So, these things, when we started this work, then we analyzed all these things, everything. So listen to me. So when we checked rainfall value, it is more, but if you take groundwater value, that is minus. So here, only thing, we can improve the groundwater, we can improve the agricultural production, everything we can improve. But we have to go for one proper study. Then after study, we have to go for some percolation tank or some storage tank or farm pond. Like we have to make some decision. Are you hearing my point? We have to take some decision. So we made this research work and we prepared all the maps. So by using GIS analysis, we found somewhere that places suitable for artificial groundwater recharge and where we can go for to construction of a storage tank and a percolation tank, where we can go in that particular area. That is, we analyzed by using remote sensing and GIS. So just you see this is that steady area. Once if you go to that steady area, we can see that rock outcrops, which is against to groundwater infiltration. So in Selberg, these all are against to groundwater infiltration, where we have this type of structure, that particular areas poor in the groundwater availability. So just you see this stony waste, mostly that area is covered by hard rock, structural hills, and Hosur hill fully with hard rock. And you can see more amount of fallow land, because here they are going for only seasonal crop. When there is a rainfall, then they are going for cultivation. So you can see more amount of fallow land in that particular area. So this is the upper Ponnayar watershed boundary. So listen to me. Here we prepared more maps. We prepared map for slope, land use, land cover, geology, geomorphology, drainage. And if you ask me, so everything, is it prepared from remote sensing data? If you ask me, no. It's not prepared from the remote sensing data. This is, you have to understand, when you are going for some research project or consultancy project, sometimes we cannot prepare all the maps from the satellite image. If you ask me, is it possible to prepare geology map from the satellite image? It's 90%, it's not possible. We have to do huge field work. Then only we can do geological mapping. So in that concern with this study area, we used remote sensing data for preparing land use, land cover map and geomorphology map. For geology map, we purchased geology map from the Geological Survey of India. Geological Survey of India. Soil map, that map we purchased from the National Board of Soil Survey. So like various, we purchased some map from the various department. Whatever can be possible from the remote sensing data, we prepared. Are you getting my point? So all preparing all the thematic map, we used one weighted overlay like analytical hierarchical model for identifying the suitable site for artificial groundwater recharge. So just you see this relief map of that particular area, height variation. So slope map of that area, as I told you, these all are that structural hills. I showed you in the photograph. Just you see this, these all are the very undulated topography. There is no place for infiltration. Highly hard rock and huge undulation will be there in that particular area. So this relief map, slope map, we prepared from radar data. This radar data freely available in the internet. That is uploaded from the US. So we used that free radar data for slope maps and all. And the geology map, as I told you, that source data we purchased from Geological Survey of India. And lineament map, it is also from the geology map. And the geomorphology we prepared from satellite data. We were prepared from satellite data. Soil map, this is prepared from Soil Survey of India. I mean that map purchased from Soil Survey of India. And the drainage map, it's from the topo sheet. So might be you know that what is topo sheet. It is produced from Survey of India, and we prepared drainage density in the GIS. And land use, land cover, it is from the satellite image. And first we prepared all thematic map. So like geology, geomorphology, slope, land use, land cover, everything. After preparation of this thematic map, here we used one hierarchical model. It's called weighted overlay analysis. We arranged all the thematic maps according to its importance. For example, as per literature study and all, and as per these maps, I mean interpretation of these maps, here there is a problem with the geology. There is a problem with the geology, hard rock, fully ambipolite rock. So here there is no infiltration. If we want infiltration, we have to do, recharge by using this shear zones, or we can say fracture zones. There is a cracks on the land. By using that fracture, fault, we can go for recharging of groundwater. We can improve that water level. So as per that model, we have to give more weightage to that shear zone, fracture zone. So rank 1 for fracture zone. Ambipolite, that is last rank, rank 4. You are giving rank according to the importance, important to the artificial recharge. So here for artificial groundwater recharge, you need fracture. So you are giving, rank 1. and like lineament, that crack density, fracture density. So where you have high, you have to give rank 1, moderate 2, low at last, very high 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you are assigning rank for all images. So like geomorphology, like pediment, pediplane, rank 1, and this residual hill, residual mount, structural hill. These all are against to infiltration. So lost rank. Like according to the importance towards the groundwater infiltration, you have to give rank for all the map. Then if you run the model, it will show where exactly you have to go for recharge. Just you see this, these all are the artificial groundwater recharge zone map. This is artificial groundwater recharge zone map. This is highly suitable for recharge, moderately suitable, low, very low. All categorization that is, given in the final output. So make this is as a reference, and by using field investigation, we can find where we can go for check dam and percolation tank. Just you see this, that location of check dam and percolation tank that is analyzed by using GIS. Not only this, we made even field study one by one. There are many sub-water set. Villages are there. They are dependent on the agriculture. So we visited in all places, and according to that topography, we suggested some control measures where highly contour bunting, farm pond, percolation tank is needed, and where we need gully control, farm pond and percolation tank, all each and every subwater state, villages we visited, we suggested all remedial measures to improve the groundwater or to store the groundwater towards the watershed development. So you know that watershed developments, it depends many things. We have to go for agricultural development and groundwater improvement, quality, quantity, all we have to do, and we have to make in that watershed studies. And finally, we submitted this project to the collectorate, local governance for further development. So thank you. So I think I have taken long time. So very sorry for that. So dear everyone, feel free if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I'm here to clarify your doubt. I know that you all are well-trained trainers. So this is the best I can give. I given all the completed works, everything. So in case if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Clarify your doubts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. One thing, as you pointed out before the start of the session, you clearly mentioned today presentation is like that. It's not whatever things in book. So the same you reflected here, sir. So basically, to be frank, we don't have that much knowledge on remote sensing GIS. Now I think everyone has got a main spoke on that what remote sensing GIS is happening and what is the importance in day-to-day activities and projects. So thank you very much for your presentation, sir. Really, it is useful for us.
Thank you, Dr. Gogalan. I have to thank Dr. Gogalan and Dr. Vijay Kumar for this wonderful opportunity to share my ideas and compiling my all the works in one PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, Dr. Gogalan.
Thank you, sir. Now I request participants, if you want anything to discuss with our expert, you can discuss. The session is open for interaction.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, yeah. Good evening, sir. I am Manasa.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, actually, while we are doing the land use land cover, there is some problem is occurred, like the features are mixed, like fallow land and built up land. Sir, how we can overcome that problem, sir? Can you suggest me that?
Ma'am, fallow land and build up land.
Yeah, sir. Mostly, sir, actually, I am remote sensing specialization in my PG.
Yeah, sure.
So while I am doing in ERDAS, so we are doing the unsupervised classification. We are giving the classes Then we got a problem that the features are mixed some by the reflectance like that. So
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
yes, sir.
Yes.
Can you suggest me
Yeah,
that
yes,
how
ma'am.
to?
Sure. I can get
Yes,
your point. I can get your point.
yes,
So when
sir.
you are
Thank
going for unsupervised classification, sometimes that pixels are mixing.
Yeah,
That
sir.
build-up area pixels, it's mixing with the fallow land. Am I right? Why don't
Exactly,
you
sir.
go with
Exactly.
the training set?
Supervised classification, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, training set.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So here, once I visited Anna University.
Yeah.
So one of my classmates is working in Anna University as a senior research fellowship. So she showed
Okay.
me how they are preparing that land use land cover map.
Okay.
Because that Anna University, that remote sensing department is the Tamil Nadu State Remote Sensing Center.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are taking care of all land use, land cover map, everything.
Yes,
So
sir.
when I asked her, what they are doing is
Yeah.
properly they are going with supervised classification. They are making
Yeah.
training set and they are preparing land use, land cover map. And you
So
know how
which?
they are giving that training set? They have a team, that a team with
Yeah.
differential global positioning system. They are taking coordinate, that coordinate they are transferring to that research center. And they are placing that coordinate as a training set.
Okay.
If you
Yeah.
predict exact pixel, then it will give very accurate, land use, land cover map.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Which kind of satellite images is very good for to the this kind of land use land cover? So actually, I did for to the list three, sir. List
Very
three
good, ma'am.
image.
Very good. List 3, list 4, IRSP6, list 4,
List
5.8
four.
meter resolution. It's best for land use, land cover. Even this list 3, 23 meter freely available, but that
In a
interpretation,
NRSC website.
yes,
Yes, sir.
ma'am. Yes. But that interpretation somewhat difficult compared to list 4. List 4 is good for land use, land cover mapping.
Yeah.
If
Okay,
you ask my
sir.
opinion, because that is 23, it is difficult.
So when while we are doing the supervisor classification, we need to take the so many number of training
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
training
Training
sets.
set, training set. We have to go for a number of
I
trainings.
tried to, sir, supervised also. I tried to, but I didn't get that much of accuracy. Maybe that need more data rather than the classification. Maybe, sir.
Ma'am, I don't know what's your study area. If it
Yeah.
is in Andhra, try to contact Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University or Survey of India. They have training set. They can assist you.
Okay.
Assist you.
Okay, sir. Thank
Yes,
you very
ma'am.
much, sir.
Yes.
Your session was so informative, sir. Even we are all remote sensing specialization too, but the some small things are very informative, sir. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Sir, there is a small doubt for me.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Sir. Sir, actually, in the case of expressways and highways construction,
Yes.
DGPS will be used for planning of the benchmarks and all that.
Yes, sir.
And in the case
DGP.
of differential global position system,
Yes, sir.
and in the case of this GA software, whenever we are using that remote sensing data, what accuracy we can expect, sir, in finalizing the alignment and all that?
By using
In
remote
terms of length.
sensing, by
Suppose
using remote sensing data, sir, or DGPS?
Remote sensing, sir. Actually, we generally do by for accuracy, we will go for DGPS and all that.
Yes, sir.
But if at all remote sensing data is available, that imagery data is
Sir.
available.
Yes, sir.
In the planning the highway alignment, how best
Sir,
that
in
means
highway alignment, I mean, we should not go with the remote sensing data, sir, because by using remote sensing data, we can get the presence of that land use, land cover, and all. If you want to go
sir.
for alignment, better we have to go with DGPS. DGPS gives very accurate alignment in the highway construction, not remote sensing data.
Yes, sir. But
Yes,
for
sir.
primary selection, we may use, I think so, for
Yes, sir.
studying number of
Even if you have very high
preliminary
resolution.
surveys.
Yes, sir. I mean, you can get idea of that, land use in that highway.
Use.
That's it, sir.
That's it.
If
We
you
can
want
have to take that.
alignment, you have to go with the DGPS.
DGPS only. That is the only
Yes, sir.
solution.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
This is Sundar Kumar from Bapatla Engineering College.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes.
with help of GS, we developed the land use land cover. At
Yes,
the
sir.
same time, so I want to how to estimate the soil erosion with help of this GS, sir.
Soil
Erosion.
Soil erosion.
Yes, sir. Yes. So sorry, sir. This is the out of the topic.
Even I could not. I didn't work with that soil erosion and all. So I'm very sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your session, sir. I think everyone's clear. I think. Thank you very much, sir. You can leave them.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you to all. Thank you to everyone.
Thank
So
you,
feedback link has been posted in WhatsApp group. I request the participants to give the feedback. So I request all to join by tomorrow's session at 5 p.m. the same time. Please 10 minutes before you join as issue. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Why, sir? What happened?
We can do that.
Sir? Sir? Okay. But not like this, sir. Yesterday, including me, also attendance came, na?
Excuse me, sir. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. Please tell me, sir.
Ma'am, my number is not there in the WhatsApp group. So can you please add it?
Sir, please tell me your number, sir. Actually, we have given the link to all the registered candidates. I hope you might have not registered, right? You are directly attending.
No, I have registered, sir. I have got the link also. Team link also I got from my application.
But in that only WhatsApp link is there. The same mail in last you after 10th point you can see WhatsApp link is there.
Okay, sir. I might not be noticed.
Just
I
send
will
your
do
number,
that.
even I will forward to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.